Hi, my name is Marilyn Largo. My topic is HLH Association with disseminated tuberculosis. Definition. Lymphocytes, also called HLH, it is an immunodeficiency disorder. In this state of disorder, there is a part of the immune system that is missing as failure. That means that the body cannot fight infection as they should. A result, a person with HLH could experience frequent infections that are usually more severe and less longer than usual. Application in nursing. Diagnostics be active and reference of lymphocytes or histiocytes which secondarily they present control hemophagocytosis and reproduction of cytokinesis.
Tuberculosis, or TB, is one of the oldest and most common infectious diseases. About one-third of the world population is believed to be infected with TB. Fortunately, only about 5% of these infections progress to active disease. The other 95% of infected people are said to have a dormant or latent infection. They do not develop any symptoms and do not transmit the disease. Tuberculosis is caused by a rod-shaped bacterium, or a bacillus, called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. An infection is initiated following inhalation of mycobacteria present in aerosol droplets, discharged into the atmosphere by a person with an active infection. The transmission process is very efficient, as these droplets can persist in the atmosphere for several hours and the infectious dose is very low. Less than 10 bacilli are needed to start the infection. Once in the lung, the bacteria meet with the body's first-line defense, the macrophages. The bacteria are ingested by the macrophages, but manage to survive inside. Internalization of the bacilli triggers an inflammatory response that brings other defensive cells to the area. Together, these cells form a mass of tissue, called a granuloma.
Pros and cons. The contained capacity of patients with untreated active pulmonary TB is indeed variably certain. Strains of me. Tuberculosis are more contagious and small positive patients are more contagious. Those with positive risk only include patients with cavitary disease, which is closely related to the load of mycobacteria in the stomach, are more contagious than those without it. Use apply in healthcare. Environmental factors are also important. Transmission increase with frequent or prolonged exposure to other pathogens where despite large number of tuberculosis vaccine is overcrowded and poorly ventilated confined space. Consequently, the individual living in concretely on institutional centers are at higher risk. Healthcare professionals who come into close contact with active cases also have a higher risk of becoming infected. Conclusion. The lung location was the most affected and the respiratory sample the most used for diagnostic. A quarter of the patients were smokers, which could be a confounding factor for the prevalence of lung involvement.
Of growth within macrophages, lysis of the macrophages, release of the bacteria, phagocytosis by immigrating macrophages, and again, intracellular replication. The cycle continues for a period of about a week or two, and at that point, the bacteria escape from this initial primary lesion that's been formed, initially into the lymph nodes that drain the region of the lung that's affected by infection, and then they reach the bloodstream, probably carried there by the thoracic duct, although we really don't know the details. Now, so this process of dissemination through the lymphohematogenous route is critical for establishing infection at secondary sites within the lungs as well as within extrapulmonary organs. So the lung is, of course, the primary target of tuberculosis. That's its favored niche, and that is the location from which the bacterium disseminates to secondary hosts. But in fact, in about 10% of all cases of TB, there is involvement of one or more extrapulmonary organs as well. And TB, being a protean bacteria, can adapt to almost any environment and in fact can cause disease of the spleen, the liver,